Hey everybody, this is Pastor Megan from Virtual Grace, and today I'm going to tell you about something called Satyagraha. Satyagraha is a fancy word invented by Gandhi, who's way back here on our altar beatitude painting. Satyagraha means something like soul force or life force or truth force. It's the place inside of you that connects with integrity, with your moral compass, and helps hopefully to guide your actions as you go out into the world. Fancy churchy people call that praxis, putting your faith or putting your theology into action. You don't have to remember any of the fancy words to practice Satyagraha. Satyagraha is about getting centered before you do something hard, right? So whether that is active nonviolence that's seeking to dramatize injustice and you're seeking to unclog the things that are stopping justice from flowing like an ever-flowing stream, if that's what you're up to, then Satyagraha would be taking time to know the purpose of what you're up to, taking time to check in with what feeds you, what guides you, and the principles that hold you centered. This is important because when we are out in the world promoting justice, we don't want to have to take on the unjust methods that have been used to keep people down in order to make justice happen in the world. So imagine Satyagraha as a way of connecting to your faith, connecting to the ancestors who have taught you about faith, connecting to the integrity that you have within you, the ethics that guide you, all of those things prior to going out into the world and seeking justice or doing a justice activity. How do you do that? Well, there's a couple of ways that I do it before I am working on justice in the world. The first is maybe just good life sense, and that's self-care. So self-care is anything that makes yourself feel cared for. So that could be what I did today. It could be getting a massage, it could be doing art, it could be singing songs, it could be reading a book, it could be listening to the radio, anything that helps you feel calm and centered and is going to connect you with that moral compass that you have. It could mean getting enough sleep so that if someone talks to you while you're out in the world being just, you're not like, "Ma!" and angry back. It could mean eating in a way that makes your body feel cared for. It could mean any number of things. It could mean paying your bills so that you're not worried and your brain's thinking about other stuff while you're out in the world trying to do justice. So anything that untangles you from the burdens of your life, if you can untangle yourself, from those things, then the more centered you'll be for when you go out into the world and do justice. So self-care is the first way. The other thing that you can do to connect with your Satyagraha or your moral compass is learn more about people who do justice in a way that you would like to be like. So that could be a personal mentor. It could be, emailing with someone who is really good at what you want to do or how you want to be. It could mean watching documentaries about people that inspire you. It could mean reading books. It could mean reading scripture, connecting to your faith, if that is helpful for you. It could be singing songs. Whatever way that works for you to connect with pillars of faith who preferably are very human-like in how they've practiced their doing justice in the world, right? Because if you set yourself up for your mentor to be someone who's never failed, then you might think that you're a failure by having a tiny little setback. So my recommendation is the people that you explore, the people that you are looking up to, that you're learning more about, are people that are perfectly imperfect. People who who have been transparent about the places where they've had doubts and shame and hardships, and maybe are good role models in how to rebound, how to, be creative when things get tough. That's really going to be some of the best way to think about Satyagraha. So you've gotten yourself self-care, you've read about other people that have been really good at the kind of outward expression that you're interested in. The third thing that you can do is connect with other people who can be like a Satyagraha community with you. So for some people, this might be your congregation, people who have a like-minded faith, who have a similar moral compass, who might want to go and participate in the same kinds of mission opportunities or the same kind of marches or protests or whatever way that you're going to help be a part of justice happening in the world. If you can find a community who can do it with you, that's really wonderful because number one, it's a bigger impact if you have more people with you. Number two, you can get feedback from them. Or if they see you kind of drifting off of your Satyagraha, kind of drifting from the center and doing something that might not be your best self, they can be like, hey, you're a little hangry right now, maybe here's a granola bar. So being able to get feedback from people in real time really helps you stay centered once you've found that space. The other thing that's a little bit harder, so you've gotten self-care, you've found some mentors, you've researched the kind of way you want to be out in the world, you've found a community that is interested in working on justice with you. The harder thing then is how to keep your moral center when things are awkward, you're exhausted, and you're full of anxiety. One of the ways that I've kind of worked on this in my life is by studying the writings of Bernie Glassman, a Zen Buddhist who did street retreats. He'd go and live with the homeless for a period of time. So instead of learning how to be calm and collective in a beautiful, serene retreat center, he believed if you went somewhere that made you feel anxious and tired and grumpy, if you could learn how to be centered there, you could be centered in the midst of any sort of conflict. So for over a period of 10 years, I would sleep on the streets and do that kind of intentional retreat in community with folk. Bernie Glassman takes it a step farther. He'd even do those retreats at concentration camps and sitting with the heaviness that was the Holocaust and trying to figure out how to be at retreat in spaces that deep and difficult. I'm not quite there yet, but any ways that you can practice coming back to your moral center when you are agitated, the more practiced you'll be when you want to go out into the world and work towards justice. Hello? Sorry about that. All right, so basically it's practicing your Satyagraha when you're uncomfortable, when you're grumpy, and just building up your tolerance for living in your moral center as much as possible. So what that could mean is practicing another thing that Gandhi talked about, which is the two hands of nonviolence. Two hands of nonviolence says that I say no to bad behavior, I say no to violence, I say no to people hurting and harassing and diminishing my capacity, but I say yes to their humanness. It's this idea that we care for the humanness within someone at the same time that we say no to being treated poorly. And this is not, here's the way to say it. This is a practice that is harder than it looks because you have to believe, like Gandhi did, that all people have some of the truth within them and that all people have some of the untruth within them. So the people we disagree with, the people we think are wrong, our opponents, our enemies, we can imagine they have mostly untruth, like they're wrong most of the time, and we are full of truth most of the time. We have a little bit of the untruth and a lot of the truth. Our opponents have a lot of the untruth and a little bit of truth. We still need to learn the truth they carry within them in order for us to be more fully open to the call of the world, right? We still need to be open to critique. And again, that means saying no to being dehumanized, saying no to being disrespected, saying no to oppression, but saying yes to the teeny tiniest bits of truth that that person has to teach us. So being open to every other human being's capacity to have love and hope and life, no matter how many times we have to say no to whatever's not going well. It's a tough thing to practice. That's why it's the hardest. It's the most advanced. So, if you're wondering how we can have a more civil discourse, how you can hold your moral compass in the midst of difficult times, I hope that you'll think about Satyagraha, think about what your soul force is, the truth force, the life force that's within you, how you can feed it more often than you feed your fear, your anxiety, and your discomfort. I love you so much. I'm so excited that you're interested in topics like this, and leave some comments below to let me know if there's any other topics you'd like me to talk about more, or if you have ideas about how you can hold your moral compass, how you can hold your Satyagraha in difficult times like these. Take care, everybody.